Uh, yeah. So for the first time in what feels like forever, although it's not really been that long, but first time in what feels like forever, we're having back-to-back shows and like week after week. Trying to get back into that groove right as the season is kind of right around the corner. Preseason is literally we're knocking on that door. It's next week basically it starts. So I don't know about you, Mark, but that's got me pretty hyped up just to know that we're that close to live MLS soccer again, and it kind of feels like it's about time.
Yeah, for sure. So that means, guys, don't be bummed out. We're in preseason form as well. So, you know, if we get some stuff incorrect, don't hound us or anything like that. We're trying to get back in the groove of things. So, here we are, excited. Lots to talk about. So Sean, if you allow me, let me start off with the poll question of the day.
Oh, absolutely, my friend. Feel free to run with it.
So obviously, everybody's excited. Well, everybody's been anticipating, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then waiting some more. See the leak of the new primary kit for the Dynamo, and thankfully enough, it was leaked out today morning, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So today's poll question of the day obviously was kit. The question was, Dynamo home jersey has leaked. Do you like the new kit? That's very simple. Simple yes or no. Yes, it's clean and sharp, or no, it's plain. And with overwhelming 51% of the audience, they're going with yes, it's clean and sharp. Over the 49%, no, it's plain. So it's really right down the middle. 67 of y'all voted on that poll. So it's really down in the middle, which I can see both sides of the tale, but we're not gonna spend too much time on the kit right now. We'll save that for a little bit later. But Sean, I know you want to talk a little bit about the ladies out there.
The ladies out there. That definitely has a different connotation the way you said that, but that's all right. No, I wanted to open the program with a little bit of dash talk, and the main reason for that is, as much as we try to give them the love that they deserve, but come on, Challenge Cup champions last year, kind of out of the blue, went from a team that was near the bottom of the league to a team that is considered a contender for the title this year, and was in the running for title last year, even though it was a much shortened season. It will be interesting to see how things progress as a full season, as opposed to a shortened season like last year. But with that being said, I just wanted to open the show more or less after giving you a little chance for the poll of the day. I wanted to. There were a couple of things I wanted to bring up about the Dash, but the first thing was they already started technically their preseason. It was kind of a friendly match that they played against Texas women's soccer. Obviously, their U.S. women's national team keeper and U.S. women's national team midfielders or midfielder and Christy, not, Christy Mewis were off with the U.S. women's national team, but the rest of the team went and totally destroyed Texas women's soccer, which was nice to see. 5-0, and they did a really great job. Goals by sorry, I need to pull it up because I don't remember who scored the goals. It was Veronica Latsko, who continues to be on an absolute tear, continues to be an incredible selection by the Dash, picking her up. Let's see. Megan Rosa also scored off a Shea Groom cross, which that is not what you expect to hear from Shea Groom, is cross. Normally she scores bangers. Shea Groom was also captain for the team. Katie Naughton, defender, scored off a header, courtesy of off a cross from defender Amber Marshall. And then a cross from Brie Fisali hit or landed to Latsko, who beat two defenders in the middle of the box. And then midfielder Emily Ogle, who we picked up in a trade, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. She also basically beat two defenders and dribbled around the Texas goalkeeper to score the fifth goal of the game. Talk about statement note right there. Boom. Playing keeper for the Dash was Lindsay Harris, and she had a couple of saves. Did well in her debut, I guess you would say, for the Dash. But yeah, it was a great to see the ladies out there playing already and playing well. It seems like they really, honestly, have not missed a beat, and I look forward to them defending the Challenge Cup championship, and then going for that NWSL championship this season. I think they have every possibility to be that champion. And you know, for a team that has been on the outside looking in when it comes to playoffs, to be a team that is considered pretty much a favorite to at least make the playoffs, it's a good feeling going into a season.
Yeah, man. I think it's gonna be really interesting. I know I'm gonna tune in for obviously for the Challenge Cup to see if the Dash can defend their title. I think I think they're gonna be one of the favorites, if not the favorite. Tournament play is a really good style for the Dash, especially for this Dash team collectively. The big question would be is once the season starts to see how well they do as a season team. You know, over a long period of time or whatever, which would be very interesting to see. I'm very excited about that as well. Um, but yeah, man, obviously there's new excitement in the air for the Dash. You know, obviously with everything they achieved last season, with lifting up the inaugural Challenge Cup, and then doing really well in their that mini season that they had, I guess, afterwards. So it's gonna be interesting to see. You know, I'm glad to see obviously Rachel Daly back in Houston. Obviously Jane Campbell and Mewis will be back as soon as they're done with their national team duties and things of that nature, or from their break from that. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I'm excited for the Dash to see them get started. And again, like I said, I hope to be able to make it out to one of their games. If possible, depending on the situation out there.
For sure. Also of note, and the second thing that I wanted to bring up related to the Dash is, and it actually relates to your poll question of the day about the jersey drop, or the kit drop, if you will. What's interesting is tomorrow morning is the official kit drop for the Dynamo and also for the Dash, which is intriguing in and of itself. But it's great to see, and we talked about this. It's great to see that two teams, one club, one team, one club. Essentially, is I think there were one city, one club, something like that. But it's really cool to see that. And to see that really portrayed in how they're approaching covering both teams as a unified club, and dropping the new kits for both teams on the same day at the same time in the same event is huge and monumental. The Dynamo and the Dash, Houston Dynamo FC, they are showing and proving the thing that we were curious about is there's a lot of talk. They've had a lot of talk about this, but are they going to follow through and actually really support the women's team as strongly as they support the men's team? And I think it's evidently clear they're going to put as much effort into that as they're going to, or into the women's team, the Dash, as they do into the Dynamo. And from not just players on the pitch and the in-stadium experience, but all the way around, coverage and otherwise. And events like this are perfect. But topping and on top of that, the other thing that they're doing this year, they're starting a new thing. It's called My City, My Club. And it's a program that's going to introduce basically patches that supporters can use to personalize their Dynamo and Dash gear and rep H-Town and the club in their own style. Unsurprisingly, most of these patches are in the shape of a hex, which will fit next to each other and in various formations. The patches there will be patches that are available free with the purchase of any new Houston Dynamo FC or Houston Dash jersey while the supplies last. These are limited edition H-Town patches. Patches can be heat pressed onto jerseys, backpacks, and other gear, allowing fans to place one or several, however they choose. The patches will be available. The H-Town patches will be available exclusively at the Adidas Dynamo team store at BBVA Stadium and the Dynamo Dash team shop at the George R. Brown Convention Center. Supporters who purchased jerseys online or through other retailers can claim their patch at either location by bringing their jersey and proof of purchase.
Tom?
Yes, sir.
No, I was gonna say, before we move on, I'm also looking forward I'm also looking forward to seeing what the Dash kit looks like.
Yes, sir.
I haven't seen a leak on that one. I think I think last season's drop, I think the Dash did a really, really great job.
Knocked it out of the park, man. That was a great kit.
Knocked it out of the park with the home kit, and then obviously their homage, I guess, to baby blue,
Bay City Blue, baby,
or the Oiler blue color. Yeah, so I mean they knocked it out the park last season. Obviously we've all had our conversations about whether who's better, Nike or Adidas. For me, and my opinions is always checks over stripes. But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, I like
We'll
checks too,
we'll see.
Mark. I like checks too over stripes. I'm just saying, bro. Just saying.
No, for sure. But I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the dash drop out too, because I mean, I know that's gonna be fire.
Absolutely. And again, it's such a great thing that they're doing this as a joint event, as a collaborative event where the Dash and the Dynamo both get the equal shine. I think that just it reinforces that whole one club mentality. It reinforces that, like I said, that they're putting that effort behind both teams equally, and that their marketing is showing that. Honestly showing that very clearly. But here's the thing that I love about this little teaser that they put in here is the new 2021 orange jerseys for both the Dynamo and the Dash will be unveiled tomorrow morning on each team's respective social media channels. Why is this important? Because we now know the Dash's kit is going to be orange as well, which really has me interested because I want to see what they do after last year's little Space City Blue kit. I really want to see what they do with the orange for the Dash. Also of note, related to the patch thing, Dynamo and Dash season ticket members will also receive an exclusive members-only patch as part of their 2021 season ticket packages, which is really cool because these patches, they have an example of it on the Dynamo site as well as you can find them on social media. They look really cool, and honestly, is something that I would consider putting on a hat or a shirt or a jersey, a kit, a number of different ways to do whatever you want. And they even threw out the idea of backpacks, things like that. I could just see, honestly, I could see, kids, using them for backpacks just as kind of a cool statement of like, hey, I'm a season ticket member. It's kind of a big deal when you're a kid to be a season ticket member of a sports team, even if that sports team is not the greatest. Dynamo. Checks over stripes, baby. I see that. I see you, Mark. But yeah, that was all I wanted to talk about Dynamo Dash today. Or sorry, not Dynamo Dash. Dash today specifically. I wanted to make sure we gave them that shine that they deserve. Actually, there's a third thing. I completely blinked on this one, but I had it pulled up in my browser, which is the funny thing. As a reminder, we have 5 allocated national team players between the Canadian national team and the U.S. women's national team. Those are, of course, our Canadians, Alicia Chapman, Nichelle Prince, and Sophie Schmidt. And then, of course, I mentioned the U.S. Women's National Team players, Jane Campbell and Christy Mewis. That's incredible to have 5 players, especially since there was a time less than it feels like. Well, I guess technically before last season, right before last season, there was a time that there was a question mark of, are we ever going to have a U.S. Women's National Team allocated player? And now we have 2. Buffered with our 3 Canadian national team allocated players, which again, it's just a huge thing, and just shows the growth of this team in a very short period of time. And a lot of credit has to go to James Clarkson for the work he's done and the work he continues to do. And look, this team feels like it's a force to be reckoned with for at least a good time to come. So definitely intrigued to see where they go from here.
And the thing about having national team players, it not only shows the quality of player that you have on the club, but it also shines a light to the club itself. Because obviously when you have marquee players that play for big national teams, and obviously the United States is the biggest women's national team in the world. So when you have 2 of those guys on there, and then you have a couple from Canada, and then you have, obviously, we can't forget about Miss Daly representing across the pond in England.
Yep.
Oh, it's a good outlook for the Dash as a club and organization for themselves to hopefully make it easier on themselves to recruit players to come play for the Dash and things of that nature. And I know we had failed experiments. So I know we had Carly Lloyd here for a little bit and things of that nature, and we had other players as well. But I think the mix that we have now and the chemistry that these gals have with each other, and they just seem to love to play with each other. So so it's gonna be good to see how they approach this season and this tournament upcoming.
For sure. And again, they have to be considered. And I think, the kind of the national attention given to the team at this point, definitely speaks to this. But they have to be given some credit for what they've done. And they're being given a lot of credit for what they managed to accomplish, and for how they've managed to keep all of those pieces together. not really losing any big pieces in the process, and even gaining some over the offseason. I mean, this team got stronger in the offseason, and that is a scary, like in a very good way. That is a very scary thing for other teams because this team was already very good. And so, again, a lot of good work being done over there, and you know what they say: winning cures what ails you, and that team has definitely elevated tremendously. And now, honestly, it's up to us as fans to support them however we can. Especially if you have the capability to get season tickets, even if you're not planning to attend most matches, at least get them just to support the club and the team. Trust me, they deserve it. If nothing else, they definitely deserve it as much, if not more, than the Dynamo right now because of the work that they're putting in. But we'll get to the Dynamo here very shortly. Hey, thanks, Fresh, for following. Appreciate you. That was fun Rocket Leaguing last night for sure. But Mark, I have a question for you, sir.
I have an answer.
Are you sure you have an answer? No, I'm just kidding. Do you know last week while we were airing live, the U.S. Women's National Team were playing the She Believes Cup, their last match of the Cup. Did you realize they actually won the She Believes Cup by winning that match as strongly as they did?
Yes, I saw. Was it 6-0 at the end or whatever? 7-0.
Yeah, it was like 7-0.
I know it was going on. I know it was going on during the time period that we were on the show. I mean, it just shows the amount of talent that the team has, man. Oh, and it's round of applause to those ladies as well. You know, they go after it, man. They want to keep showing that they're the dominant force to deal with, that they're going to deal with. They want to, I guess, create a dynasty. You know, after that World Cup win, they want to win this She Believes Cup, and then obviously go into the Olympics, and then on to the next World Cup. It's I think they're in dynasty mode, man. They want to go and show that they're one of the best women national teams of all time, and they have the group to do so.
For sure. And, it's not surprising the U.S. Women's National Team have always been such a dominant force. And, as good as Brazil are and have consistently been, the U.S. Women's National Team is just that next step above that. It's going to be interesting to see as the U.S. Women's U.S. Women's World Cup comes up again very soon to see how things kind of go because there are international squads overseas in Europe that are they've definitely tremendously improved and they will definitely push the U.S. Women's National Team, but I think it is fair to say the U.S. Women's National Team are the team to beat in international competitions right now. They are the dominant force, like you said, and it's going to take something special from another team or someone special from another team to usurp them. But boy, when that happens, there's going to be some interesting drama within the U.S. Soccer Federation related to the women's team because I feel like there is a bit of an assumption that the U.S. Women's National Team are just always going to be that dominant force, and I can only hope that's the case, but I guess we'll see.
Go
ahead.
But the thing is, like, you'll see that all the women leagues across the world are getting stronger. They're getting more focused and they're getting more, I guess, shown to them. So, which is a good thing, and obviously, hopefully, these leagues grow stronger, and creates more competition. Obviously, we love to see the U.S. women on top, dominating and all that good stuff. And I honestly continue to believe that will be the case for the foreseeable future. But obviously competition is good. We know that teams like Japan are going to be out there, competing. England's a team that's coming, that's on the uprise. So good to see. Hopefully, it's always good to have a good competition.
Yep, for sure. Well, we're rolling right along with this show order, which is kind of about what I expected for the first couple of things here. But an interesting announcement was made today related to the U.S. men's national team, so I figured I would bring that up so we could give the men's national team a little bit of tiny little bit of shine, if you will. Obviously, there's a number of players playing overseas for the U.S. men's national team right now. They've a lot of their best players are playing over in Europe. And one of those players in Weston McKennie had his full transfer finalized by Juventus. So he is now a full Juventus player. And that is an impressive feat for a kid who's 20, 21 years old, coming from the U.S. To feature
From
now.
Texas.
Yeah, and to feature now for Juventus to the point where he's considered basically the starter. That's a again, he's made his mark, to say the least, and it will be interesting to see how how he keeps this up, and if he can keep continuing to improve, if he continues to continues to push forward and continues to become that elite talent. Because the U.S. men's national team could certainly use 2 to 3 of those players, if not more. Pulisic being one of them would be great, but you want to continue to see those players grow, especially the players that you expect to feature for your national team, because they're extremely important to the growth of your national team, especially at a time where our national team is, we've been in a bit of a struggle. We're starting to come out of that. I think we're starting to see the light at the end of that tunnel, but boy, that this existing cycle that we are in between World Cups has been excruciating, to say the least.
It's and congratulations to Weston McKennie. Obviously, that's a big feat. To play for Juventus, which is one of the top 3 Italian clubs of all time. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's gonna be a crazy midfield for the U.S. coming up for the 2022 World Cup. You got McKennie, obviously. You got Tyler Adams, who plays for RB Leipzig, and then you got a youngster over there in Borussia Dortmund, and Giovanni Reina, who can possibly play your 10 or be one of the wingers if you decide to put Pulisic in the 10 role or whatever, depending on how the coach sees fit. But yeah, man, that midfield is going to be very, very talented by the time 2022 comes in. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Yeah, man, I'm always happy to see Americans abroad do well, especially in these big leagues. And Reno Serie A is one of those big leagues. Obviously kids like Sergino Dest that played today in Barcelona, and doing well in La Liga. Pulisic obviously in Chelsea in the Premier League, and all the kids and all the other guys who play in the Bundesliga. With their respective teams, what they're doing out there, it's admirable, and I hope to see their skills keep progressing forward. That way, when 2022 comes in, we make a statement, man, because we missed out on that 2018 World Cup. It was a big guy for the U.S. Federation. Miss out on a World Cup like that, especially in the way they did. It's a dark moment in U.S. soccer.
For sure, but you know what they say, sometimes the darkest hours bring the brightest lights. And I think that we're seeing that in kids like Weston McKennie, in kids like Christian Pulisic, and in kids like I can't think of names because I just literally blanked, but there's so many. Josh Sargent, Tyler Adams, Josh Sargent, Anthony Robinson, just a ton of players out there. Yeah. Well, oh God. It's exciting as a fan of the it's exciting as a fan of the U.S. National team, men's national team specifically, to see the growth of the talent pool, especially in the last 6 to 7 years. Going into the last cycle, it was really a struggle. You were looking and going, who are who's the starters? Who's your top 11 here? And now,
go ahead. Funny. Like, what's amazing about this revolution, if you want to call it, of American soccer players, is that before, when we used to have European players, it would be like spotty players that play like in Belgium, and if they played like in a big league, they played for like a bottom team, or a mid-table team at the very most. But now you see players represented in the big clubs, a very big league in Europe, which is a great, amazing feat to see. Like I said, I think this is the time that everybody had that prediction of the U.S. winning the World Cup in 2010. Obviously that didn't happen, but I think they're in the right course of going to that, to gaining that feat of winning the World Cup, lifting the World Cup. Obviously I'm not gonna, it's a lot of pressure to put on these guys, but like I said, they're big. They play in the biggest games in the world now. Like I said, we mentioned Giovanni Reina, who's playing Borussia Dortmund, who, obviously is playing games against Bayern Munich, playing Champions League games, things of that nature. Sergino Dest, Copa del Rey, Champions League games, La Liga games, things of that nature. Western McKinney with Juventus, and prior to that with Shaka and the Bundesliga. You know, these kids, quote unquote kids, not gonna be kids so for that much longer, and they're gonna have experience underneath their belts with this with big games, and they're gonna have the mentality of going out there and doing the jobs and hopefully succeeding in the international stage. And I'm here for all that, man. It's gonna be very interesting to see. Obviously, depending on how they're gonna do the Gold Cup and things of that nature, it'll be a good sight to see if they can, not only win the Gold Cup, but like have a big showing in the world and the Gold Cup, because obviously we know that the main rival is Mexico. But when you compare players to players from Mexico compared to the United States, obviously we have a lot more foreign players from European sides, abroad. So we should have a stronger team, and if we dominate this Gold Cup, I think it's just the beginning of something special for this era of U.S. soccer.
For sure, yeah. It again, it's a huge deal to finally have what I would consider to be a competitive, pool of players, and competitive at just about every position. And player we forgot was Zack Steffen, playing over there with City. Players that have really stepped up and have gone overseas and are making their mark overseas. Like you said, not just idling in a mid-table club or a second division club or even a third division club over there, but premiering and starting for their first division clubs and clubs that are known worldwide. And it's creating a pipeline. It's creating an opportunity, and for all the credit we give to the players, we do have to give credit a lot to teams too in MLS that have created these opportunities via partnerships with European counterparts or South American counterparts, as the case may be. Perfect example is, God, I hate to say it, but FC Dallas and Bayern Munich. FC Dallas have obviously maximized that partnership to its fullest, having sent 2 more players over there this off season to train with their club, and that's a huge deal.
Not to mention Brian Reynolds, who signed with Roma. So yeah. Unfortunately, it is our main rival, FC Frisco, doing these things. But it's just good to see that the youth of U.S. soccer is not just sitting in the backyard and in America playing. They're actually getting looked at in big massive clubs in Europe, and they're getting a chance over there with trials and with signing to their U23 teams and things of that nature, or their lower tier teams, or some of them even going into their first teams. So it's a good sight to see.
For sure. Well, enough about the men's national team, the women's national team, the dash, the jersey drop. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of Dynamo talk. This week, obviously, the big news, of course, is the kit drop that will happen tomorrow morning on this Dynamo social media channels, which would be Houston Dynamo or at Houston Dynamo FC, and I think also at Houston Dynamo. You can follow at both of those locations, and you will definitely see them drop there. Then also, of course, follow the Dash at Houston Dash on Twitter as well. They will definitely drop there. But if you can, follow on Instagram, because usually when they drop stuff on Instagram, it is like the highest of quality stuff. Great media teams over there, by the way. I lost the show notes, and that was my fault. So there we go. All right, cool. So the other big news of the week is and this dropped today. So I wanted to make sure we shared this. This is, I wouldn't call it breaking news, but it's definitely news. Marcelo Palomino, the guy we heavily hyped and hoped would be at least a rotation player for the Dynamo, has been loaned to Charlotte Independence of the USL Championship as of today. So he will feature for Charlotte Independence this USL Championship season. Much like Eric McHugh, who was loaned out to Charleston Battery. You've got two of your young players that are homegrown players that are being loaned to USL Championship clubs. To be fair, it was going to be a very heavy uphill battle for Palomino to take a starting central mid role from an existing player, especially having brought in Joe Corona, having now brought back Boniet Garcia. Matias Vera and Darwin Seren were not in any danger of leaving, but that's a foursome that that for 3 spots, or really 2 spots if you think about it, that is going to be very tough to break into. And you also have players like Memo that can slot into those positions. Darwin Quintero could play in the middle of the field if needed. There's just a lot of opportunity there, or not a lot of opportunity there, because you already have such a strong central midfield with the players that you have on the squad already.
You know what I find interesting about the McHugh and Palomino transfer is that, I think somebody asked, I'm not sure if it was Glenn's show or just somebody else asked them how their relationship with RGV is, especially with Wilmer now over there. And they said everything's good, everything's great, obviously all the PR answers that Matt Jordan is known to give. Why didn't they, loan them out to RGV? It's a very interesting thing. I was thinking about it actually right now before getting onto the show, because you obviously I didn't know about the Palomino loan so now, it's very interesting to see why wouldn't they have loan both of them out to RGV?
Yeah. So it's interesting, of course, and you kind of noted that Jordan gave the PC answer of, yeah, our relationship with Wilmer is great, and our relationship with RGV is great, and there will be some loans to RGV, and I think that's more PR speak than anything else. They don't want to throw Wilmer under the bus necessarily. Don't want to throw RGV under the bus, but. Truth be told, it is very clear you have 2 players that you've now sent to other teams in the USL Championship. And 2 players that fans have hopes for, have belief in, or at very least for Palomino, that's the case. And you didn't send them to RGV. Maybe that's because RGV feels those 2 players shouldn't really be starting for them. I don't know what their thought process is, but we're gonna have to wait and see with RGV. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, obviously, I think Tab has McHugh and obviously Palomino and high regards as part of the future of the club, right? Obviously they're focusing on the right now and trying to focus to make sure that they're a playoff team for the season, because they don't want to go another season but missing the playoffs and things of that nature. So they're obviously going to, I guess, focus heavily on veteran leadership, and obviously with talented, with a little bit more talented group of players as well, right? But it's just funny to me, that obviously Palomino, we know the kind of talent that he provides and what he's done in his youth national team career. And obviously he's gone on trial, Portugal and Spain and things of that nature. McHugh being a homegrown, and obviously, I think he had a little bit of time in RGV, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. That it wouldn't be in consideration, obviously for Wilmer, because I mean I'm sure Wilmer knew, obviously, especially in McHugh's case, he was there when he was signed as a homegrown player. Obviously Wilmer was here when Palomino, decided not to sign with Dynamo at that time. So I don't know if there's a little bit of maybe not a good relationship there, but yeah, it's an interesting thing for me. I think an interesting dynamic, because literally we're still part of, RGV is still under the umbrella of the Dynamo for this last season. So
I'm actually curious, since Harry is in the chat. What is your take on that? Seeing multiple players now having been loaned out to other USL championship clubs. Your perspective as an outside viewer, as a San Antonio fan, FC fan. What is your take on that? Is it surprising to you to see that happen, or do you think that do you maybe agree with me that maybe there's a little more blood in the water than either team is gonna say publicly when it comes to that stuff? I'm really kind of curious, Harry, what your take is on the whole situation.
Yeah,
He
because I
did.
mean,
I was going to say, he said before I asked that, he said, I do find it odd that no preseason friendly between RGV and Houston. He says, but it's good for both. It tells me that the relationship is not good. I think that's, boy, that's
oh my goodness,
understating it heavily there, Harry, but I like it.
it's crazy to me because like you mentioned, obviously now you're strengthening opponents to RGV, right? And
Yeah.
then on top of that, I'm not too familiar with Charlotte Independence and their style of play. I don't know if maybe the coach plays a similar type of style that Tab is playing, and maybe he just found comfort in that. I'm not sure. Like I said, there's a lot of things that have to go into consideration when you loan out a player. You want to make sure that this player is going to get the playing time that he is going there for. And then on top of that, if said team is playing a similar type of style that your team plays, then that's a even added bonus. So maybe Charlotte Independence is playing the 4-3-3 the way Tab might play, or a similar version of his 4-3-3. That can be an option as well, or a reason why he decided to send Palomino over there instead of RGV, because we know Wilmer's version of 4-3-3 is attack, tack, tack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is obviously good. I mean, it did this thing down here. When he was over here.
I feel like we're losing Mark. Mark, you might wanna close and reboot, brother. Your internet connection is hosed.
Yeah, it's messing
Yep,
up right
no
now.
worries, no worries. Harry, I like that statement. Charlotte will play the player. Not sure RGV will. I think that's kind of a big deal, right? There's this affiliation, but how far does that affiliation get you if the club's not going to play the players? I'm kind of intrigued, right? Because Harry, you can echo this sentiment, I'm sure, but the Charlotte Independence right now is probably not a club that I would send a player to, and it has nothing to do with the club or the team, and everything to do with their ownership situation. That is a complete and utter mess right now. I'm not going to go into details why. If anybody's curious as to what is going on over there, I think it was The Athletic that had a great article on last week or the week before on what's going on with Charlotte Independence and their ownership. Definitely, look it up and give it a read. It's a fairly long read, but man, it is definitely eye opening to say the least. Yeah, definitely political reasons. I like how you put that, political reasons, but it's just interesting because I think there are some very good players that play for Charlotte Independence, and I think they play for the fans. They definitely don't play for the owner of their team, that's for sure. It is a completely different type of situation with their ownership insider. It is more about the political outspokenness of their particular owner. It's Google it, you'll find out. Google it, and you'll find out what I'm talking about. I just don't want to dive into it here on the show. We've only really got 22 minutes left, and we've still got two things to go through. So,
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that obviously with their USL affiliation and knowing that Charlotte FC is about to start up what's going on with that as well over there, but that's obviously going beyond the point. So, but yeah.
definitely beyond the scope of our show. There are USL podcasts out there you can definitely pull up and listen to. Harry has one of his own for sure. And there are other USL podcasts you can tune into, I'm sure, down in the RGV. Probably we'll talk about it to some extent, at least in the curiosity of why Dynamo are not loaning these players to RGV. I'm sure they'll bring it up and they'll talk about it. But always interesting to see kind of some of the stuff happening and think about it from a business perspective, think about it from personality or personnel perspective. Yeah, Charlotte is just a mess, period. But with that being said, let's move on to our next topic. Obviously, I mentioned preseason's basically here. I don't intend to talk about this for very long, but I wanted to bring it up. Preseason starts basically next week, which is like 5 days away on Monday. Monday the 8th, if I'm not mistaken, is when preseason officially starts. Man, I am absolutely geeked and ready to see, even on, even via choppy, shoddy stream online. I am ready to see the Houston Dynamo play, especially with the work that was done in the offseason to bring in players and do some player movement and player changes.
There we go.
Nest, are we are we streaming again? I'm gonna guess the answer to that is yes. But obviously, guys, that was unexpected. But the intent there was preseason's here. We're gonna finally get to see the Dynamo play in matches, at least via stream, which is really it's got me hyped up and geeked out to no extent right now. I'm ready to see the boys play, and again with the number of off-season moves that we have made and changes we have made. It is. I am ready to see what the effect is on the club, and to see how those changes fit in, especially guys like Tim Parker, Maximiliano Urruti, Fafa Pico, Ariel Lassiter. Now that he's a full Dynamo player, no worries, Nestor.
Bahamic, man, Bahamic.
Mateo Bahamic. Whenever he gets here, a reminder he's still in Argentina. I know you're hyped on Bahamic, but I've got it on pretty good authority from George, if he's still around, that Bahamic may still need a couple of years of seasoning, maybe a year of seasoning before he's really ready for MLS play. But Ethan Bartlow that we picked up in the draft, who knows where he's going to fit in? Is he going to start? Is he going to be a rotational player right out of the gate? How's that going to work out? Again, the center back out of the draft considered the most MLS ready of all the center backs. Just a ton of things going on, a ton of storylines going on. Who secures that right back slot? Is that going to be Bisama or is that going to be Valentin? Who secures the left back slot? Is that going to be Sam Junqua or is that going to be Lundqvist? Who secures that starting forward role, that starting striker role? Is it going to be Christian? Is it going to be Arudi? Is it going to be Fafa Pico? Because all three of them can play that role. Could Lassiter be a dark horse coming in out of nowhere?
I think one of the things that Tab mentioned in Glenn's show yesterday, for those who didn't hear, is that he loves the fact that there's more competition at every position now. Which is true, obviously with everything that you just named off. So, obviously we kind of have a feeling, well, we think we have a feeling of who some of the starters may be, but like I said, there's more competition for those positions now than there ever was before. So there might be a surprise here and there that, you might think, hey, well, we can pencil in Lundy because, Lundy, he played every game last season. He was Iron Man, but you never know. Junqua might have
Junqua showed something, though, in those 3 or 4 matches he had a chance to start and play in.
He might have a badass preseason. Tab might say, you know what? Man, I'm going to give this kid a shot. The same thing with, Valentin, Valentin and Bizama, or, Bizama might be the starting center back next to Tim Parker, depending on how his preseason goes. So it's good to see, obviously, with all competition, there being more competition. I think as a club, especially if you're a club with aspirations or championship aspirations, you should have, a competition, especially in your most important positions, because you always want to be able to have somebody fresh, ready to go in case of injuries or disciplinary actions or things of that nature, or just, because you have an abundance amount of games coming up. So
yeah, for sure. And piggybacking on player movement, I think it's important that we remember during that press conference, the kind of season opening press conference, if you will, Matt Jordan did state that they are looking at and are watching or scouting a player from Africa over in Switzerland, playing in Switzerland right now. There we go. That's interesting to me. There are 3 or 4 players I think that fit that kind of what the Dynamo want to do. One of which would be an absolute monster grab in Same. But doesn't really fit the age. He's 27, so it's not like he's like out of aged, but he would definitely have to be a DP. Transfer fee would likely push him well into the DP range. Don't ever exclude it as a possibility. I just don't think we necessarily see that happen. But there's also Area, Eria, Mishek Area. He plays kind of a central midfield role and can play winger as well. And he would be on a cheaper contract, something more along the lines of what I would anticipate the Dynamo spending for a player coming from the Swiss league. But all the players. Go ahead.
What do you mean we're about to drop 16 mil on a Mexican defender? Haven't you heard?
I mean, I have heard. I think that it's been stated by a number of people at this point, and I think there's no doubt about it that the Dynamo would never pay 16 million. I shouldn't say never. The Dynamo would likely not pay 16 million for a Liga MX center back. I said it on Twitter. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it around, if something were to happen, if it were to come in around 8, 6, somewhere around there, that wouldn't surprise me. But 16, that's and it's not even anything against the Dynamo. That's a lot for a center back out of Liga MX. Period. I
mentioned. I was talking to somebody on Twitter or one of the Discords. 16 million can get you a top 5 goal scorer in this league. 16 million can get you a lot. If you're willing to spend it.
Look, 6 million could get you Zlatan. That's all it takes is 6 million.
Yeah.
So if you got 16 million to spend, you could get a Zlatan. You could go get some other player at 5 million, another player at 5 million, and I guarantee you are going to come out better than that one player that you're paying 16 to.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you're going to invest 16 million in one player, I mean, it might as well be a player who's going to score the goals for you. So
at least a player like Ezekiel Bartlow that you think you can probably move at least to get back the majority of what you pay. If they don't pan out or potentially blow up the transfer market with a huge, transfer out.
You know who I would have spent 16 million on? Honestly, if it would have been available to the Dynamo, and I know.
If you say Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm gonna kick you out of the chat right now.
No.
I mean, I'd spend that amount on either of them. Let's be real.
But yeah, Christian Pavon, obviously, he's already showed his quality for MLS. And he's a borderline Argentine, national team player. And obviously, to take one of the best players, if not the best players from the Galaxy, and bring them over and put them in Orange, that's just a double whammy in itself.
For sure. And honestly, Pavone is a player who can play that out wide. He can play out wide very comfortably. The drawback is that's basically he plays really the same position that Quintero plays. So you'd have to kind of figure a different way to approach things. But absolutely, I could definitely agree with you on that. But I just talking about this potential African player that's playing in Switzerland right now. There's there's a number of African players playing over there. But right now there's really only 3 or 4, and just about every one of them plays for Young Boys over there. Insame is a player that he's a striker, a true striker, that is a prolific striker. I think I say prolific, everybody's going to hear the percentage and be like, oh, that's not that great. 69 total matches. He's got like 60 goals. That's not an astronomical number or anything like that, considering, again, it's the Swiss league, but it's Division 1. But the thing is also you're not looking specifically for statistics. What you're actually looking for is talent and capability. And, it is entirely possible to find a player that you can bring into MLS that could absolutely light MLS up with just the right coaching and the right kind of training and guidance and maybe belief and trust in the player. Sometimes, players need that too. But those are looking to be, if anything, or I should say that is looking to be, if anything, a summer window type of signing, summer window type of transfer. If it's to happen, my expectation is if it's Insame, it's a DP. If it's Area or any other, player over in the Swiss league, it's probably going to be a U22 type of player, which would mean he'd fit that U22 initiative. Which means you'd be bringing him in as kind of essentially a young DP, and paying him only half a season's worth of salary, and only hitting the salary budget for half a young DP, which is a lot cheaper on your salary budget and gives you a lot more flexibility. But there have been other rumors out there. You kind of hinted at one with well, you didn't hint at it. You basically said it. With the Carlos Salcedo stuff. I think if there is a possibility that something happens, I think we're looking at a summer transfer type of situation. And I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. Look, if the Dynamo feel that player is going to get them over the mark, if Tab feels that player is the player they absolutely need, why are we writing it off as happening? I mean, I've said it before, Jordan's best quality is that he knows soccer business and he knows how to get contracts signed and done. And if Tab has targeted players, if he has picked out players that he really wants and he says, look, Jordan, make it happen. And if Brenner is willing to sign off on it, I mean, look, that's really big ifs, right? But never say never when it comes to this stuff. When DMB was signed, when Beasley was signed, I thought there was no chance in hell it was the Dynamo. Absolutely no chance, because we'd never spent that much money on a player before that point, and yet it was the Dynamo. When Kubo Torres was brought in, no chance in hell it was going to be the Dynamo. It was going to be LA Galaxy, or it was going to be some other team. And it turned out to be the Dynamo. Just never say never. This team can surprise you. This club can surprise you. This ownership can surprise you. I know that we've got a lot of expectations that we've built up because of existing situations, but I just think that maybe we should put those to rest and believe that this team is maybe ready to turn that leaf a little bit. And again, if they're trying to set up to increase their value, what better way to do it than to bring in a player that's recognizable, by name, a player that is going to hit that market that key demographic that you're looking for, which is that Latino Mexican based group. I mean, if you brought in a Salcedo, that's going to light that group up, especially how many Tigres fans are in this city.
He's coming off a Club World Cup final where they lost 1-0 to arguably the best club in the world right now in Bayern Munich. They won the CONCACAF Champions League. Like you stated before, a huge Tigres fan base here in Houston. So, obviously that would kind of hopefully bring some of those fans into BBVA once everybody's allowed to come back to the stadium. So, I mean, it's a plus. It's a plus, right? It's a win-win for everybody. But, obviously, I don't. I'll be happy if it happens. I just don't want it to happen for 16 mil. But
I think anybody does. Everybody I've talked to and everybody that has talked to me about it, that I've watched chatting about it, has all said the same thing. Like, bro, 16 million is like way overboard for that player. And you get closer, like I said, that 10, 8, 6, 4, anything really between 5 and 10 is a comfortable level for that player. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. And again, I put it out on Twitter. We look and we say, okay, let's say the player is, or the club Tigres is looking for around 8 million. Oh God, that's a lot of money. The Dynamo would never spend that. But what if you could do like 4 million up front, and then you do like 2 million, on top of that as incentives to get it up to 6 million, and then you give them a 20% sell-on fee or a 15% sell-on fee. Whatever it is, you figure out how to make it work. And that is what Jordan can do if you give him the player that you specifically want. I just don't think that that's happened with other coaches as much. I think Wilmer, he either wanted somebody that was completely off base and out of possibility, or the players that he wanted were your Elise and your Kyoto. And because, I mean, think about it. Who are the players that we got? Elise, Kyoto, Morrow, they were players Wilmer wanted. I mean, and it was stated that was the case. So, again, if the coach is given the players that he wants and Jordan is able to make it happen, then, we need to give the team more credit at that point. It hasn't happened yet, obviously, but if it does, that should open some eyes.
More reason why, the thing about the 16 mil, obviously it's a huge number, right? Huge number. Especially for a club that isn't known to spend that money like that. But I would understand it if Salcedo was a 21, 22-year-old defender, that's already with the national team, full-time MXNT player, things of that nature, where you can market him, and then 2-3 years down the road you can resell him for a profit. But, he's a 27-year-old.
Essentially like your Miguel Almiron, just without at a defender position instead of a forward.
Exactly. So the reason why I can't get behind the 16 mil right now is because he's 27, going on to be about to be 28 years old. He's
Sure.
obviously he should be in the prime of his career. So obviously that's a fit for what we're trying to do right now, as far as being a competitive team. But it's going to be really hard to sell him for a profit later on if you do decide to sell him. And again, you're talking about a defender. So it's crazy. Like for example, the whole Elise deal. Elise, they got Elise at 21 years old. For what was it, 2.53 mil from Monterrey. They could have easily flipped him and made 10 mil off of him. If Jordan didn't sit on his hands about transferring Elise before he ran down his contract. But that's the kind of players that you go and spend money on, players that you can flip later on and bring in more money so you can bring in more players later on. It's a circle that needs to be done, especially if you're not having an ownership that has the deep pockets to just go out there and fling money around like that. So
yeah, so real quick, as we're sitting here talking, the Dynamo just dropped a little teaser picture for the jersey, and it is the Texas flag with orange instead of red, and the blue, where the blue would be, it's actually black, and it's a hex. It's a hexagon.
Hey,
instead.
I was right, man. I mentioned it in the Surge Discord. They're gonna put the Texas flag in a hexagon.
Oh, that looks so nice too. That right there, that little feature, that might be enough to push me over the edge to buy that sucker too. That is gonna look nice, man. Wow, that's incredible. And what a time for them to drop that crap too. George says that's on the bandanas. Is it really?
I have a bandana, so I don't know. Every time I try to go out there and get a bandana.
Oh shit, it is. I don't know if you can see it because I can't see my own camera, but right there, it's there.
I can see it.
There. Damn it, George, busting my balls already. But seriously, guys, it is 3 till 8:30. We're only doing an hour today because it's still preseason, or still almost preseason. When we get into the regular season, we'll probably go a little bit longer again, depending on our work schedules. But guys, thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Obviously, we love this discussion, talking about things like what would it take to get Salcedo into orange, or what would it take to get Nsame into orange. And look, if you're a fan of the Dynamo and you haven't followed us yet on Twitch, make sure you follow us on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/GenerationOrange. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Sean Ringrose. Mark is at Chase Segovia. You can see it on the stream. And then, of course, follow us on Twitter at Gen Orange Radio. We tweet as much as we can. It is pretty crazy to kind of keep up with everything right now. But other thing is, make sure you check out the Slice episode. It dropped either today or yesterday on the Dynamo YouTube. It covers both Dynamo and Dash in one episode. And as always, it is top-notch quality. Highly recommend it. Good stuff, as always, from our media team, the media team over at the Houston Dynamo and Houston Dash. Incredible stuff out of there. And we look forward to what's going to go on with preseason for both Dynamo and Dash. Look forward to getting to watch some live soccer, live MLS and NWSL soccer again. And look forward to getting to see the boys finally put it all together and get out on the field together, get out on the pitch together and see what they can do, and to see what Tab can pull strings with and maybe turn into a pretty cool thing. Who knows what the Dynamo are capable of this year? Who knows what the Dash are capable of this year? We know the Dash are at least capable of championship level quality. We don't know what the Dynamo are capable of. We have no idea. Way too many moves. But we look forward to seeing them try. Club World Cup quality, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, Club World Cup. Bring it on. Guys, again, thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Harry, thank you very much for the sub. We definitely appreciate that, sir. Appreciate all y'all's ongoing support, and we'll see y'all next week. Hold it down.